When I started out in high school, doing odd jobs and the Kohler machines being the person that's going to sweep the floor, we would make sure that there was nobody else who was going to take that job because we were the best at it. But we were always engaged in what we did. Make sure that you love something that you're doing.
Tim Green, founder and CEO of Outer Bands and Tiki Live, multi-million-dollar software and streaming companies. Expert freediver, dives to the depths of over 100 feet, always giving back to the community.
The overall mission would be to find something in our life that makes the world a better place than you came in.
He's a beekeeper, a gardener, used to live on a boat, and now lives on the water in the Florida Keys, always creating amazing structures for his home. And he creates amazing structures for the community to enjoy. He lives life to the absolute fullest and embodies what it means to be the fulfilled being. So the business, it started as a passion because I feel like nowadays, so many people my age, maybe younger, they see all this stuff on social media and they're like, yeah, I could go and make $1 million or $10 million. And everyone's so focused on the money, the fame, the external success. Has that ever been a driver for you, or is it more just like an internal core beingness?
Not at all. Matter of fact, it's kind of in reverse of that. I actually built platforms that basically in the hosting internet video business that I didn't really know how it was going to make money. That I was always asked that, later on, during my development period, how are you going to make money with this, And quite frankly, it didn't really occur to me to think about that first. Okay. So that's where I say, it's really about the passion and about really solving a challenge that somebody has. And so I'm kind of a guy that if I see a challenge and there's something that I think is interesting, I'll try to solve it, or I'll try to come up with a method to think that I can solve it. And really, it's for basically self-satisfaction of solving a particular challenge. And in video, streaming video in the early years, early 2000, when I started streaming video, when the internet first was getting its legs, was a real challenge. And people, that's all they asked for. So that's when I started that. And then it evolved into a product. And then, of course, I asked somebody if I could do it for them, and they asked me the price. And I just basically give them a price and threw a dart at the wall. And I said, this is your price for your particular software. And they said, okay. And it was great. That was starting of the business,
I'm sure that's really fulfilling, right? Because I feel like to you, solving the challenge, it means it's all about the process. It's not about the end result. And when we're chasing money, when we're chasing fame, when we're chasing these external things, it becomes so much about the end product that we forget about the whole process, the whole journey of getting there. So do you feel like you really get to enjoy that whole process? Like, is every day an adventure? Is every day a joy? Because it's about the challenge, right? It's about that journey.
Yeah, it really is. I don't really pay attention to the money as much as I have people that work for me that do that. But I basically am focused around basically delivering something that somebody wants that they cannot do. So that's what I do. I basically, they have a challenge and I meet that challenge, and basically at every level, I get to solve those challenges for them, deliver a product, but really it's my product because I'm only giving them a piece of the story. Matter of fact, while I'm actually doing my development for a person, I'll actually listen to their ideas. I'll listen to their, what they really want out of the project, but I'll go further. In every case, I'll go further and I'll say, well, that's great, but if it only did something a little bit more on another idea, and then I embellish that, and I basically, come up with my own thing about it. And so that's really a lot of fun, Sometimes, they don't agree with my ideas, and that's okay too. Uh, it's just like building a house, really. So the architect is going to have a great idea sometimes, it's out there. So you don't necessarily want to take their ideas. Sometimes you do, and that's what I do with that architect software.
So changing paths in life seems like throughout your life, you've, done a lot of different things. You started off your professional career as a underwater welder. And then you went into prosthetics, then you went into software development. That's just from your professional career. From a personal standpoint, at one point you lived on a sailboat. You now live in the Keys. It seems like maybe every few years over the course of your life, you've reinvented yourself. You've done something else crazy and new and different. Is there fear in those times of change?
No, I wouldn't say there's fear much at all, ever. When I actually during those transition periods, first in the underwater welding and the school, and then getting out on the rigs and diving, it became, it's very dangerous work. So, you have to think about, okay, how long am I going to be able to do this if I get hurt? And I was always thinking that eventually I'm going to be providing for somebody, and I couldn't bear the thought that somebody was going to provide for me. So I'm the provider. And so basically I wanted to make sure that whatever I did, it had a future at some point that I'm going to be able to, turn it around and actually do something with it. But I always had that sort of foresight eventually, but I made sure that I wasn't going to be on unemployment or, something like that, or disability. So that was my main factor for switching into a professional, more of a medical area, because it was fascinating to me. Making artificial limbs, was fascinating. So I went to school for it and became a certified technician, and then took over some clinics and actually did it. But that was just really fascinating, and it gave you a little bit of artistic flair to it. I think back, why did I, really like it? But those are a few reasons. It's very challenging, but very, very cool.
But each time you think about switching a career, it almost feels like you're starting over. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that maybe have been in a job for a little while, right? They're so used to the same, and they're like, man, if I change courses, what's going to happen? For you, is it there's not even a second thought when you're going from prosthetics to software? It's just, hey, this is the next challenge. This is the next journey.
No, because in every profession, when I started out in high school, doing odd jobs, and then I got a job at the Kohler machines, being the person that's going to sweep the floor. I made sure that when we went in there and we basically did those jobs, just sweeping the floor, waxing the floor, and my brother and I would go in there. We would make sure that there was nobody else who was going to take that job, because we were the best at it, and so they asked us to come back time and time again for basically a few years to basically do this. And finally we had to say, we got to go off to school. We can't do this forever, right? But we were always engaged in what we did. It wasn't, and I was always engaged in what I did. So it doesn't really, you're just picking up another, like a passion. But make sure, for your audience, I guess, make sure that you absolutely love something that you're doing, something about it, and the outcome, because everything eventually will become, at some point, some mundaneness to it. There will be challenges that you got to go overcome, and the passions which are going to drive you through. It isn't going to be, you're not going to be in love with everything you do, but in the initial part, nobody should be able to tell you no anyway. So, people are like, well, they're fickle. I may want to do this, or I may want to do that. Tell me what I should do. Well, right there, you can't ask somebody what they should do. They should just do it, and they should be convincing other people, this is my trail, this is my track. And there's plenty of those people that, I would tell, I'd say, I'm going to go off and go commercial diving, but you don't dive, right? I don't dive. You're not even, you live on a lake. Okay. So you don't even know you're in Michigan, commercial diving is like offshore, so you have to convince people this is your passion and the reason why you want to do it. Rather than having somebody say, what should I do? Which path should I take? You should really find out your own path.
So it's about your inner knowingness. It's about knowing, hey, this is something that lights me up, and then you go after it. So for you, has it always just come to you like, oh yeah, this is it? Or are you intentional with like finding those things that light you up inside? Like, how do you know, like, I'm going to get into software, I'm going to get into prosthetics, I'm going to get into spearfishing, like these incredible different, like, woodworking, building tables and chairs, Fred the Tree, the huge community service, like, tree that you put up, that you climb the bridge and go put up and create every year. How do you find these things and know, like, this is my inner calling?
Well, again, it's a challenge. Basically, I that's what keeps me up at night, thinking about, what it is that I need to solve, or what would be really, really cool to solve. My latest, adventure is Outer Bands, and basically people playing in sync with one another from remote, from remote locations, no matter where they're at. That's a real challenge because the speed of sound is, is a known, speed. So basically you have to figure it out. And if you could figure it out, how wonderful it would be, and the outcome, and basically you just think about these things, and then, you sort of start solving these problems or challenges. And then it becomes so exciting that you don't stop. You just keep going. Spirit diving is, that's really quite addictive, actually. But once you get into that space, it's a whole nother, dimension. When you get under the water and you're with the wildlife, and diving, it's just a whole nother dimension. So you really don't, think about anything else. You're there in the zone in the moment, and that's what you're thinking about. And that's what's so cool about it. You're not thinking of work or your projects. You're really thinking about one thing, and that's a fascinating thing about that hobby and sport,
And so spearfishing in of itself, it just puts you in that. So when you're working, right, you're accomplishing something, you're building something, but there's 10 things going on. You're thinking about the future and how to put these pieces together. But spearfishing, you're just in the present. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. It's hard to walk past this, when I'm going to work, but I have to walk past this in that boat. And, you just got to have some, dedication, to your craft, and discipline, really. You got to be disciplined. That's for sure. Sometimes you could be overwhelmed, and you'll just want to, you just want to relax, party, do other things, but you have to have some type of a discipline to actually keep you on track, and that's important,
Yeah.
So
I've noticed that with myself too, is like when we're entrepreneurs, when we're building businesses, it gets stressful. You got to make choices, decisions. You're thinking about the future and how to bring these pieces together. And at times there's timelines, there's deadlines, there's deals, there's a lot going on. And there's like a romantic element to just being like, oh yeah, let's just go spearfishing today, right? Or diving or something to just relax. But how do you have to stay so conscious about that discipline? Like you have a routine for yourself every week and you just know like, hey, if I stay on this course, it's going to lead to fulfillment, happiness, joy, success. Like what's your method of discipline? Like how do you,
that's
how do
a
you
great
stay
question
disciplined?
because my wife and I have certain things that we do all the time just to be consistent. so you don't get really off track, because there's going to be a time when I'm spearfishing every day, right? I mean, it'll be a time not so far from now that I'll be spearfishing every day, and I'll be just wishing I was back in the office. But right now, there's so much opportunity out there that you go spearfishing and you feel kind of like, oh, I'm kind of guilty about this because I really got to get back to basically hitting that goal, But yeah, the consistency is a very good point that you bring up. You have to be consistent. Being consistent is really a great idea. It's a great method of follow to be consistent.
So is a lot of this stuff have to do with discipline? Because I feel like myself and like other people that I know, sometimes there's like vices, right? It's like it can be very easy nowadays to get lost in your cell phone on YouTube and Instagram into these consumption habits, right? So overeating or over drinking or over consuming social media, but it seems like you're always spending your energy on creating these amazing projects. And I think my theory is that's part of something that brings that joy and brings that fulfillment, because you're always creating. For someone that is in that consumption state, do you know if there's like an easy way for them to switch over and start creating more?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. It's a good question. We, as growing up, we grew up on a farm half the time we're at the lake. And for my grandfather, worked for him on the farm. And we had to be creative all the time about, you had to be an adult really young. We had not a lot of money. We had to basically help him, with the horses and plow the field or whatever it was he wanted to do. We had to do it, but we had to be creative when we were younger. And I guess, I don't know if it's a trait or not. I can't tell you why people would sit in front of a screen, and not have, we do really cool things, and we do the cool thing that people actually, I guess they want to do the immersive whatever, into it, but we do it in reality. We go out and shoot tunas, and 2,000 feet of water, so we just don't have time for that, to sit around and look at a screen. There's so much to do, there's 1,000 islands out there to go explore, there's mountains to climb, there's all the stuff, you just got to go out and get it done, do it just so you can see it, and that as well as anybody else. You've been all over the place, world traveler, that you are, but you really got to just dig deep and actually say, what do I want to do? You want to sit around and you want to create something and, it feels great,
Yeah. So when you're out there in 2,000 feet of water and you've got tunas and you've got fish, or let's say you shoot a fish, right? And you've told me stories where you've got 5-10 sharks coming at you. You've had situations like that, right?
Well, I've had a few. Yeah,
where you've had a few
I've
sharks,
had a few of sharks
coming at you.
But they really don't. They really don't want to bite you. They really want what you have, And so you take a moment, take a few deep breaths and just be aware,
Well, you take a few deep, but you're underwater, aren't you?
Yeah. What
would you get to the surface?
Be aware, and you basically have your spear in your hand. You have to defend it. It's somebody said that spearfishing is a lot like the old sort of sport of shooting buffalo with a bow and arrow. The Indians were always looking to see if the wolves were coming after them while they were hunting the buffalo. And that's kind of like you're into that idea that basically there's always somebody looking at you while you're hunting something, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's part of the challenge for you, right? Is like, all right, like this one extra element of risk that just adds to the challenge, adds to the excitement of the
it's
journey.
Very exciting. It's people think it's crazy, but if you get in and you actually get to spend the time in the water, and you have, you see the beauty of the whole ecosystem and how it all works. So that's just, and every time it seems like your challenge with either one or two things, maybe you want to go a little deeper, or you want to go into, you want to basically get more relaxed, stay down longer, things like that. But it drives you to go out the next time, because after you come in and dock the boat, you're like, okay, I need to get back out there. But generally, I kind of reserve that for holidays and weekends for right now. But
when, man, so the going out there and taking these risks, whether it's business risk or risk of going 100 feet underwater, holding your breath and shooting fish, do you feel like taking risks helps you deal with risk more? Like, how do you handle risk, the uncertainty, the unknown of life?
Well, in the diving world, and the spearfishing world, you just have to, I don't know how it relates to risk in the business world, but I suppose it does have it, because you're going through maybe some murky water. You have to have the nerve to actually be the apex, and you have to think about this. You have to, kind of think, okay, you have to be the apex predator when you're in there, and as long as you think like that. And a friend of mine, Ace, he says, do not think that you're not the apex, because you are the apex predator. You are, that's what you are. So believe in it, because if you stop believing that you are the apex predator, then, things could happen at that point, because self-doubt, and they can sense that. So you basically want to tell yourself you're the apex of the situation. And when you're deal making too, I guess it does help you at some points where you actually are making a deal. You just have to know that you have to have the confidence that you can carry through, because you're going to carry through with your product and solve the challenge. You just want to make sure that that they understand that you can back yourself up.
So yeah, it's I've heard this saying. I forgot who it was by, someone famous, but they say if you can say that you can, you say that you can't, and those are both true. And so this idea of belief, right? This idea of belief when you're down there, that you're the apex predator. In business, you're the apex predator, because it comes down to that self-belief. Have you ever had times in business or down there where that maybe some of that self-doubt does creep in, and you might need to shift it, change it, or does that never happen for you?
In the business side, I'll say that in the business side, it comes up often when you're in the negotiations, and you might have overstepped what you might consider something that your value. So as you get older and as you get more mature in your deal making, your value goes up. But at some point, you can almost say, my value is this, and then the person flinches, and you're like, well, maybe, am I really worth that much money? Am I going to really make this deal because I just asked them for X? And so that's the self-doubt. You're like, oh, maybe it isn't. So that's for a moment, because eventually, if it's the right deal, it's a fair price, and they basically move ahead. So it's all good. But in diving, I never have much fear, never have much doubt. Not much. That can be dangerous too, because you can overestimate your ability with having no nervousness, no fear, or very little fear of it. For instance, last weekend I dove in, and we were at the spot. It wasn't very deep. It was like 45 feet, and a tiger shark, 10-foot tiger shark, comes very close, and I didn't have doubt or fear or anything. I was just amazed that the thing was this close. But it was my first first tiger shark experience. So I was like really in awe about the whole thing. But there was a cobia that was actually riding with him, and I wanted to shoot that cobia, but he was too far away to take a good safe shot. But I don't know where my point was on that. But I didn't really have any fear. I didn't think that he was going to turn around and bite me or anything like that. It was just, he was very close, and it was like, wow, I was like, that was just amazing, you know? But, and other times when you're diving and you go down and you meditate, maybe at the bottom at say 40 or 50 feet, and you just meditate waiting for the fish to come through, or, you know, and you're hunting different areas or different methods, you get very, very, very comfortable. You get very comfortable. You can meditate yourself into a state of euphoria almost, because even though your body says we have to go up now, you want to stay there. So it's basically, it's a strange trick that you can actually change into your mind to think, okay, that's really pain that I need to be aware of. I need to go up and breathe, you know, but it turns into actually a better feeling than what you think.
Wow.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah. I think that's something that like applies, because I dive as well. And I love going down, and, you know, in North Florida, my dad's standing right here as our production guy. Probably doesn't want to hear this, but I go down into these little like underwater caves, and you feel that urge, that sensation to breathe. But as you sit and relax and meditate through it, you get through the nervousness, the pain, whatever we call it. And then from there, there's just incredible peace.
Yeah. It's amazing. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that can be applied to just everyday life, everyday activities. I use these principles from that in my life, because unlike you, it seems like you've just got this like natural apex predator everywhere in life. But for me, sometimes in business, like self-doubt comes in, and some of these challenges and some of these pains. And for me, I utilize that like diving principle, which is like, all right, I'm feeling this pain right now. And I could either go up for air right this second, which is giving in to the fear, right? And quitting, or stopping for the rest of the day, or just, being like, F this, I'm going diving right now, right? Because I'm doing the business stuff, right? But when we just stick through it, we stick through that emotion, and we just are kind of relaxed through it. I feel like the essence of life is on the other side. It's pretty cool.
There's a saying, there's another day. It's another day, there's another dollar. So if you do feel like, you've had enough, there is another day. It'll be tomorrow. And so you don't have to stress yourself out about, things of today, because tomorrow you're going to be fresh. You're going to meditate. You're going to think through those challenges and attack it in a different manner the different day. Now, tomorrow you might think, well, tomorrow I got a bill due, so I got to do it today. Well, that's the biggest challenge in business, So, and that's always going to happen. It's always going to happen. I got to pay the bill, So, when times are good, just give it your all, and when you have challenges, just meditate a little bit, about it. That's what I think that helps me anyway. Yeah.
Is there a way that you can differentiate between a choice that needs to get made today versus one that can wait till tomorrow? Because I find that's been a big thing for me too, is like, all right, I'm feeling a bit too much right now. It might be wise to take a second to breathe. Is there really ever a choice that like needs to be made right this second? Because what are your thoughts on that? Or is it always okay to just wait a little bit to make a choice?
You have to act, especially you have to pull the hours too. I mean, in the beginning of any endeavor, I mean, you have to basically, in my world, the software, you have to basically do a lot of studying, a ton of studying. I don't write the software, but I have to direct people to write the software that tell me no. They tell me no all the time. And I have to basically say, don't let your ability limit the features of my product, because it's your ability. It's your saying no. I'm gonna get it done. It isn't going to be a time when I'm not going to do what I'm going to do. So it's either we do it or you don't do it, but somebody's going to do this, right? So you basically have to have that. You have to study a lot. You have to know about where you're going, and you have to basically just know that you're gonna go through. And people will tell you no. All businesses fail. Blah blah blah. That's what they're trained to tell you that. Professors are trained to tell you that. Yeah, most businesses fail. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they end up being professors. So yeah, what else is new?
So in those situations where people are telling you no, this can't be done, does that create any emotional charge for you, or it really for you? Because I know for me, sometimes like that can get to me, like, and sometimes a lot of the exterior doubts, I could listen to it and it could throw me off a little bit. Does that ever happen for you?
No. Matter of fact, when I was quite young, people, I would actually, want to do things, and because I had these very big ideas about doing things, but I always was always positive about what I wanted to do, whether it be build something, do something, or go somewhere, the commercial diving, whatever. But people were always saying, well, that's not really going to happen because, you don't have any money. How are you going to pay for that? But if you had to sit around and just listen to these people all day long, you'd just be like all the rest. You would. They're right. I guess they were right. You listen to that, but no. Does it give me a charge to tell them you're out of your mind? And maybe I'm like, well, to you that doesn't make any sense, but that's just you. That's your limits. So don't let them, come over on my side, because I walk on no. So people tell me no, I walk on it. Say, okay, glad to know you, but I ain't gonna rain at my parade. I'll just go ahead and do it, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Very cool. So on a day-to-day emotional state, like what would you say your like emotions are like on a day-to-day basis? Do they range? Like what do you typically feel?
Well, right now, because I'm about ready to launch just a huge initiative and the Out of Band, I am so excited to get up every day and just really, now that I've got the product working, it took me close to 2 years telling people that what I was going to do. And people were like, that isn't going to really work because, speed of sound and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't care. But after 2 years, I took the product to, because I really want to give this to all the children. I want to give it to all the kids. That's my biggest thing, to watch the kids create music together, wherever they're at. They want to collaborate from any country. So you'll have sounds from Africa and sounds from U.S., India, wherever, Russia. We'll bring it all together, and it's going to come together with music, right? So that was charging me up. So I basically was all charged up, took it to the county of the schools, and I said, we're going to give this to every student. And so they looked at it, and they're like, "This is amazing. It works." I'm like, "Yes, it works. Isn't that great?" They said, "Yeah, but it won't work for us." I said, "Well, what is the problem? Why doesn't it work for you?" And they said, "Well, we don't do downloads anymore. Schools, they work on a Chromebook. We work from the browser. We don't even download any software. No downloads." I'm like, "Well, my product was built to basically go on the Apple Store and Google, And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not going to work. And this is my dream to put it in all the schools, right? And you could probably ask me, how you're going to make money with that, because every kid gets a free copy, right?
But that was also like 2 years of development to make
Right,
this,
2 years
right?
development.
2 years of development with bringing this product to the kids in mind. And
right.
now after 2 years of,
and I have no idea how I'm going to make money with this. But I figured that we're going to have the kids using it, and that's the plan. So they said that it's going to work. You need to build it for the browser, or we need a browser-based product. So I went back to the office that day, and I told the guys, well, we're scrapping the 2 year of development. We're not really scrapping it. We've learned a lot, but we're starting over. So that was about a year ago, and we built it for the browser. So another challenge, and now that's getting ready to launch, and it's just so exciting because anybody can use it. They plug in their instrument, play, no download.
So again, like this is like where I'm just so curious about like the emotions during this like time period, right? Because we all face challenges in life. So I can only imagine building something for 2 years and then going to the person that I'm planning on, that I developed this for, and they're like, yeah, this doesn't work. And you got to start from square one. Is that like a kick in the stomach, a kick in the nuts, like, or a dropping of the stomach? Like, what's the emotional feeling?
I remember it clearly. I came home and I said, Loretta, honey, they can't use it. No, nobody's going to use it. It's not going to be used. And she goes, wow. Incredible. Lots of investments, lots of investment has been through the 2 years, So, but I said, I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to go to the browser. And people, we went to the office. They're like, Tim, the browser is not even powerful enough to do what you want to do. We barely could make it work on the download. And all the power in your computer, all the power, all the RAM that we needed, and your computer that you want us to start over and do it from the browser, it won't work. And I said again, I that's up to you to say, but that's not true. You can say that, but you want to be on the team, get cracking. If you don't want to be on the team, that's okay. But I'm going to do it, right? And of course, everybody jumped on and told me for the next 6 to 10 months it wasn't working. 10 months later, they're like, this actually works. I said, I know. Isn't that great? But it can be a kick in the gut. Some of these things can be.
So it's that, it's just that belief, right? I think it's really that it comes back to that belief, knowing, hey, almost I feel like with you, it's like anything is possible, right? Like if you put your mind to it, you just know like this is possible. Do you like physically know, because this is like a technical thing, like do you physically know that like, hey, we can like do this much processing with like less RAM and like make this happen? Or you just like have this belief in maybe God or a higher power, or just belief that like you can make anything happen? Like when everyone else is saying no, where does that belief, or do you have the technical abilities to physically know, like, yes, we can do something?
I don't have that technical ability to say that it doesn't work. But what I do, and yes, there is the higher power. I mean, Jesus Christ is who I thank every day, for my being, But I'm going to tell you that belief in what I want to do, that's the beauty of it all. Because if you're telling me it can't be done, and you're highly skilled, and you're a veteran of 20 years in the software industry, and you're telling me it can't be done, you probably have friends that would say the same thing, and that probably hasn't been done with video and audio and putting it in sync the way that we're going to do it. Probably hasn't been done because y'all believe the same thing. So I will be the first to do it, and that's even more exciting. So there you go. It's like, wait a minute, it hasn't been done. I have a competitor, so nobody's competing with me. Yeah. When I do get it done, give me that challenge. So I do believe that, there's certain things I do know how to try to have an intuition of whether it can work or not. But I'm not the coder that's going to tell myself no or yes or something like that. But I do a lot of reading, a lot of reading online to basically find the people that do thesis on, sound and fingerprinting sound, measurements of sound. I look at all the formulas. Now, can I actually write a formula? No, but it's fascinating to sit there and read thesis of actual, people that do the thesis on sound and their theories, and maybe they proved a little part here, a little part there, and you say, well, I need to put this together with this, and it works, right?
Yeah, I feel like for you, because it's about the challenge and you're just enjoying the process, it makes it a little easier to take the risk or just have that belief, because at the end of the day, you're enjoying the whole process. That it's not about, for you, it seems like the end result. It's like you don't 100% need the success to feel fulfilled in yourself. It's the journey, it's the process, it's the challenge. So you're already feeling happy and alive by working through the challenge, which allows you to have that faith, where I feel like maybe if the end all be all is just the end goal, there may be way more fear, because it's like, oh, well, now the risk is kind of has the potential of taking away from the thing that I need in my life. But you have what you need. You have the process. Is there?
Yeah, I think that's partially right. I mean, partially true. Some of the things that I was taught a long time ago is actually to find a mentor, somebody that you respect. Not necessarily, you don't have to have a mentor, but find somebody you respect in the business world, and tell them what you're going to do. And they will, that somebody that's successful, or find a few people successful, say, I am going to do this. And even if they try to talk you out of it, just tell them and make sure that they understand what you're going to do and how you're going to sketch out to get there. It's very, very valuable, because they will encourage you to keep going. They will ask you every time they see you, how is it going? What's going on? I mean, the successful people, not the people that are, maybe that are down on their luck and they're hopeful, because we're not hopeful. We're not wishing anything. We're driven. And you need to tell the person that actually knows how to drive themselves, or that's actually has the discipline. You need to tell them what you're going to do. And they will ask you the key questions, about monetization, how is it going to look in a couple of years, and things like that. And sometimes I would fail to do that. I would fail to actually think about those things, because I was so driven to get the product done, and I'd get the product done. And there's several, examples I could give you on platforms that I've built that, and AI and different, things, and people be like, well, how are you going to make money with it? I'm like, exactly. I have no idea. But man, it sure was fun making it for a year. And then it goes a year, and I don't know how much investment I put into this, crazy thing. But isn't it cool? Yeah, it's cool. But it's not a company. It's a product. It was fun. And so I got wrapped into that, and not into like, well, I probably should think about, it's really cool, but I probably should think about selling something at some point. But
again, I feel like that's part of like what makes you so special, and what leads to a lot of your success. Because again, I'll find myself so focused sometimes on the end result, like overthinking about the end result on business, that it adds so much like pressure to the process and makes it like not fun anymore. And I feel like it's really about having that joy and that fulfillment in the process. And when this is like for the podcast, for me, like when I started it, I'm just like, dude, this is awesome. This is fun. Like I'm creating this thing that's like, I'm loving, that like other people will love. And then people are like, all right, well, how's it going to make money? And when I first started, wasn't thinking about that. But now I have overhead on the business. And eventually you got to think like, okay, I love this thing, but to make it sustainable, it's got to be a business, right? And so it's just interesting, and that's where it comes back to what you had mentioned in the beginning, which is I really feel like finding things that you love, right, that you can enjoy building. So when those challenges come, when the kick in the stomach comes in, they're like, yeah, your past 2 years, like you got to start over. Well, you can start over with that new knowledge because you've got that passion, and it's not about the end result where you're like, oh my God, that was a wasted 2 years, because you had fun in the process.
Well, you learned.
And you learned
things.
You
learn a lot, and so you're a better man for it, But another one of the things that we do, that I do for myself, when I'm overwhelmed with the whole enchilada of the whole thing, because there's, you build a product and then you have to have support, you have to have all these different things. But what you should do, what I do, not you should do, but what I do and I have to do with myself is I have to basically pick a corner in that particular process, and I have to perfect that corner before I move to the next corner. I like corner the room, and I go like, conquer the corner. If you conquer the corner and you can actually back up and take a look at what you've done on a little thing, it's a lot easier to move ahead. Some people do everything and then they go, well, I've done all these things, but I haven't really seen anything. I have nothing to basically look at. And from a very young age, I was taught this, basically, it's kind of a funny thing. And we were painting a fence of all things, with my mother. And I was just so frustrated because I would paint with my sister, my brothers, and we were hired to paint this fence. And I was just like, I don't want to do this because I don't enjoy painting this. She goes, that's because you don't know what you've done. You're skipping around all over the place. You need to basically start here and, paint these boards and then look what you've done and then move on. And ever since then, I think we were very, very young. I think 7, 8 years old. And it's always taught me to basically, if you can look at your successes sooner and see something of value, then you're going to basically be a much more, energized for the long haul and all the other parts. Because there are going to be a lot of parts to your business, well, of course.
Right? I think that's like not just in business, but anywhere in life is like you want to get somewhere, just make those small wins. And we don't need to tackle the whole thing right away. Mm-hmm. Let's just have those small wins, those small successes. And I'm just thinking about it in my own podcast, right? And like working on all these different components. And sometimes it's good to just distill it down and be like, hey, let's get this as good as we can right now without focusing on getting everything amazing. And there's all these different components to business. So it's
well, you got a great start because I've seen some of these podcasts that are great, and that's what people love, that content. And it's so genuine. You're basically going after something that people want to hear about. They want to know about. So, kudos to you. I think you got a great start on your podcast. I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
As you go.
Thank you. Yeah. It's about enjoying the process. It's about doing every single day and making those small improvements every day. So I appreciate, and I want to ask you on one more subject, the, living on the boat, like how did that come about? Right. And was that like a dream of yours? And then like, what was that experience like?
Well, it's a funny story because it wasn't a sailboat. It was a power boat. It was basically the same size as this boat here. It's a 32-foot boat, but not a very big boat. But I lived on it for about 4.5 years. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, Loretta, and I were watching TV, and we had seen, and it was around in the October, November time period, and we're in Michigan. And we're getting ready to put the boat away, and you have to wrap it and put all kinds, antifreeze and all kinds of things in Michigan. You have to put it away and treat it, And so we're getting ready to do that with our boat. And there was a commercial that came on, and it was a Corona commercial for Christmas, and they light up the Christmas lights, and the Corona shows, and there's a little home with a few, just a few palm trees there, and it lights up, and it says "Merry Christmas." And I said, "Honey, where do you think that is?" And she goes, "I don't know. I think it might be in the Keys, maybe." I said, "Well, wouldn't it be great if we just actually took the boat and moved to the Keys and didn't wrap it or anything and just trucked it down there and just ran our business from there?" Because I was basically making websites at the time anyway. So that was when I was doing my websites and things. I could do it from anywhere, in my software. So we did. We basically called a marina down here on the Key, in Marathon Key, and they basically said, "Sure, yeah, we've got slips open, and do you want it? We got one left. It's the close. We've got one left, right?" And I said, "Of course, of course I do." And this is the first call to the first marina, that I'm making, and I'm like committing to a slip, in 2 days, after we've seen that commercial, basically. So that was 1999. And we moved down and basically just brought our swimsuits, brought the boat, dropped it in, and just lived on it for 4.5 years and built the business. And again, lots of discipline, lots of commitments. People are, being committed. People would come up and knock on the boat. "Let's go party. You're on a marina. Let's go have drinks. Let's go do this, But it was never. We've never come out of that boat all day long. We'd be in that boat doing software, making our business, and we wouldn't budge, And of course, after 4.5 years, we were able to afford a place, and then we moved to Turks and Caicos for a year. But we were going to buy and build out there, but we came back and did it here. So,
man, it just keeps coming back to, or one of the ideas it keeps coming back to is the discipline. Like, I feel like I've heard the saying, discipline is freedom, right? And in essence, when we don't have discipline, I feel like we're enslaved to our own mind, our own vices, other people.
You have no rudder.
No rudder.
You have no rudder. You have no, you're just drifting around, You got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined and be disciplined of yourself. And if you could just do something, every day, something small to move yourself ahead, you're going to be amazing, But I used to listen to an old motivational guy, Art Williams, and he would say that all you can do is all you can do. But all you do in a day is generally enough. And it's probably more than somebody else is going to do. So if you're just showing up to the game, and basically just do all you can do, some days you don't feel like you did much, but nobody else did it for you, and nobody's going to do it for you. So you did something. You moved yourself ahead, So
I think it's also important to have that direction, right? Like know where you're going. Do you write down at all, like, where you're going? Or you just know, like, hey, I'm building this software, and I'm gonna put in 8, 10, 12 hours a day, or is it?
I basically look at it like a different. I say to myself, I'm going to change the way people make music. If I'm right, then it's going to be amazing. I'm right. So it's going to be amazing, but it's one of those things, it's like you just have to basically believe that what you're doing is your mission. Believe in your mission, and then follow the mission, and just go forward, every day. And,
do you have multiple missions in life, or do you have like one consistent overarching mission that incorporates your business and your spearfishing and your wife and your community, actually? Because I think we talked a lot about business and a lot of the mentality there and some of the spearfishing, but I mean, you spend time with Loretta, you have these beautiful home projects, you give back so much to the community, you have all these things. is there like a encompassing mission that ties this all together for you?
Well, eventually there will be a time when I don't feel like doing so much work on a daily basis, right? There'll become a day where I want to retire and do just not just spearfishing. I joke about that, but that would be, if we just did that, that would be like, okay, enough already, right? So you're just doing one thing. But basically, the overall mission would be basically to find something in our life that makes the world a better place than you came in. Leave it a better place, whatever that is. Whether it's building gardens, that I love to do, or something that people will enjoy from this life on, because eventually we're all going to end up at the same place. And what have you been doing with yourself? You just can't. You just got to actually be, for humanity's sake, you got to have some sense of, man, I really should do something for somebody. Maybe I'll build a church. Maybe it's, and I've thought a lot about that. What's the overall mission? Is basically, there's several things that I have and I dream about that we will do. Certainly it's going to be nature, it's going to be gardening, it's going to be animals, it's going to be something like that to make the world a better place. There's plenty of things to be saved out here, so
I feel like it sounds like you have like different missions, like you're on different missions. Like one is to change music, but then also with your gardening and your beekeeping, like you're doing, it's not like you're, I also want to say, it's not like you're putting off that mission for a future date. Like it's almost like you're going to do something way bigger at a future date, but you're doing those one thing every day, like tending to your garden, like doing the beekeeping, like you're still accurate. Keeping
that's accurate, because I mean, it's not the last rodeo, right? It's a step. It's a great step. It's a fun step, but it's not the end all overall. But when we do change the way that people make music in every school around the world, you could do a lot of things. You could do all kinds of different things to help humanity, right? You change the way that people make music together. It's going to be great.
Fred the Tree. So, Tim, it's a big thing for the community. Like on the 7 Mile Bridge here in Marathon, it's something like incredible and beautiful that everyone see. You go every year and you build this amazing tree with different ornaments. We have a menorah as well, right? And you put your time, your money, you do this every single weekend. And you also, as you love to do a little risky thing and like climb up, right? And go put that up there. What does and the communities behind it, you have so many followers on your page for it. What does Fred the Tree mean to you?
Well, it's Jesus' birthday. That's number one. We basically, years ago, we found that Donnie Braswell took us out fishing next to the bridge, and it was, he called it the tree. And it was this little tree, maybe 4 feet high, on the old 7 Mile Bridge. And after he took us fishing there, about a year later, I said to Loretta, we should really think about decorating that tree, And so we just have a funny saying, if you don't like the events in town, create your own, right? So we basically created this Keys Christmas Palooza name. We thought it was going to be just really cool. Everybody was going to join in. Well, in the beginning, it was only a few people, but then every year it gets bigger and bigger. The tree is now over 60 feet high, and we've got the menorah for the last couple of years. We had a great menorah. This year we have a brand new one, which is great. But it lights it up. It gives people, a lot of questions about, how did that happen? How do these lights end up on this tree, 7 miles, out into the ocean where, there's no power, and so it just gives people a lot of pause for a second, but it also gives them a lot of good feelings, and they feel the spirit of Christmas, right? So, we basically do it. It isn't something that I promote. I don't promote myself doing it. This is like probably the first, thing that I've ever said that I actually started it. But every year it gets bigger, better. It's cool. The community cannot wait for it to happen. You'll hear people that will say, when is the tree going to be lit? And that's the start of the holiday. It's so cool. But we'll be standing right next to people, and they do not know that it's me that's doing it, which is really kind of cool, because we'll ask them about it. Hey, it's who does that? They're like, I don't know. It's elves, or something. But of course, I don't know how many people in Marathon will watch your podcast, but it's something that we just don't promote. We just give it back to the city. We basically give to our community and make sure that they enjoy it.
And so, like, how much time do you spend like leading up? Because I know it's like quite a big production. So, like, how much time do you spend every year preparing it? And
all the month of October is basically after, October is our month to get it all straightened out. It takes about 30 days to get it straightened out, everything laid out, get the neighbors over here to basically light up their part, do testing, light testing, building something new. There's always something new to put together. But we take about a month on the weekends, basically just getting it ready. And now we have about 30 people that show up, and with multiple boats, and they're great. They're the elves, and they haul all this stuff up there. We put it up, and then we have a party about it, and it's great.
Nice. Yeah, it always to me just keeps coming back to the journey and the process, right? It's like it's this cool challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Starts off, and then every year can't just keep the challenge status quo. We got to like up the ante, otherwise it's not really a challenge, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it's a really enjoyable for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.